Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Glam Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about perfect form. Now, I have to address this once in a while in a video just because there's always some dumb, and I'm calling them dumb not because they don't know, but because they're kind of rude about what they're saying, okay? So let's just be clear about that. But some dumb will say, hey Jason, you're doing bent over rows improperly because you're not parallel to the floor, and what's wrong with you? You're just cheating, you know, you're doing all ego lifting, right? The typical stupid crap, right? They're not realizing that, hey, if Jason could get a bigger back from doing bent over rows parallel to the floor, then that's what he'd be doing, because that's the goal of bodybuilding, right? Is to get bigger muscles. Do you think that I'm avoiding getting bigger muscles just because of some sort of ego thing? Obviously not, right? So these are usually new people that just tune into the channel. They don't really know who I am and they automatically make prejudgments about stuff. So let's just get something clear here. I do what is most effective for my body and what I found to be most effective for a lot of other people too.
You have to know that I do not represent a danger to the members of the gym. I don't worry. You're okay. You're safe. This is a safe space. Safe space.
It's not just me, but again, I'm open to everybody experimenting. Now, that said, here is a way that we can all meet in the middle here, right? I think we can all agree to meet in the middle when it comes down to this. And that is, there is a time and place to do an exercise a certain way. Sometimes you can do it with lighter weight, under a different range of motion or a different technique, and find some benefit to that. But there is a point to where using such technique might cause you to not be able to use as heavy a weight, and therefore you may not get the same type of contraction in certain muscles or the same type of stimulus overall in the body. The bend over row is a case in point. If I use heavier weight and bend right over, what happens is the lower back starts to take more stress, and the rear delts and the biceps, because I'm not necessarily working the lat the same in this position. Not for me or my body. When I'm in a slight incline or 45 degrees or so, keeping the lower back arched, right? I find that I get a massive amount of stimulus on the lats that I do not get when I'm parallel to the ground. Because a lot of people don't know that when I first started bent over rowing, I would be parallel to the ground and I bend over quite a bit and I get some stimulation on there. But what I found was I was getting a lot of arm stimulation along with lower back strain, and it was not necessarily equating to a bigger back. But once I started bent over rowing in a way that was more efficient, meaning that I was using heavier weight and hitting the part of the back that I really wanted to hit, meaning the lower lat, that's when I started to get way bigger and better back development. Bigger, better, better. Bigger, better back. Bigger, better back. Triple B. If you want a triple B, then you got to do the bent over row in the efficient way that hits the lower lats. It's not about trying to use bigger weight for the sake of bigger weight and just doing, 1-inch movements or something, but it's more about where do you feel the movement? Are you really concentrating all that stress in the lats in a certain way? So there is a benefit to doing lighter workouts and experimenting where this is. Sometimes you can do just light bent over rows and bend over more. Just make sure your back is arched or at least flat, right? So you're not herniating a disc in your lower back, but at the same time, you may find the stress changes. So try different positions, different angles, and see where that stress is. Yeah, maybe you are feeling something different in the lower back and the upper back when you're in a parallel position. But for myself, I found that there was an exponential amount of stress on the areas I didn't want to hit, and they were getting fatigued long before the areas that I really wanted to hit. And the areas that I wanted to hit weren't getting hit at all, basically, in some circumstances. So this is where you have to really use your own judgment on perfect form, right? And this is really what this channel is about you experimenting. So it's not always about performing something right or wrong. It's about performing it for a certain purpose for what you're trying to do or what you're trying to develop. For instance, if I was trying to develop back muscles, it would make no sense for me to use just one finger per hand to do lat pull downs. Meanwhile, my fingers would hit fatigue long before my back would. You know what I'm saying? That would be just making the movement unnecessarily hard on small muscle groups to avoid working the big muscle group. If my goal was to develop a bigger back, I would not try to make my grip the weak link. You understand? So it's the same thing with any exercise you do. If you make something other than what you want to hit, the weak link, then that is what will develop or basically get overworked or injured in the worst case scenario. and therefore your bigger muscle will not get hit at all because something else is taking over. Something else is basically hitting fatigue, and there is the possibility of it being an unreasonable expectation on that little muscle group to take all the stress or take enough stress so that you can also challenge the big muscle group, right? It would be unreasonable for me to say I'm going to do lat pull downs with my pinky with 400 pounds, and somehow my pinkies are going to be able to build up enough to basically be strong enough to hold that weight so that way I could stress the lats properly. It would just be an inefficient way of using your joint and tendon and ligament and muscle strength in the pinkies. It'd just be inefficient, right? So if we can agree on that, if somebody watches my video and says, oh, okay, I'm just gonna listen to Jason as far as what he's saying instead of just assume or project he's just doing this for ego or he's doing this because of some sort of lie that he's perpetuating or something like that. If we just give up all those ego games for a second, I think we can agree that there is an efficient way to use an exercise and an inefficient way. And that's really what it's about. It's about finding what is the efficient way to hit the muscle you want to hit. So I hope this helps you out in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get home, just go to naturalglambodybuilding.com, and thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now. Mountain.